Okay, so I'm talking with Sister Simone Campbell. She's the executive director of Network, a national Catholic social justice lobby headquartered in Washington, D.C. Sister Simone, welcome to the show.
Oh, glad to be with you.
Okay, just for anybody who's not familiar with you, who might have not heard my interview 4 years ago or anything along those lines, just a little brief background about you and your position at Network. Tell us what Network is all about.
Sure. Well, Network is a 45-year-old organization that was set up by Catholic sisters back in 1971. We opened our doors in 72 to work on Capitol Hill to create policies that put those at the economic margins of our society in the heart of the work that we do. And so we speak up for the folks that are often left out of the consideration on Capitol Hill and try to make laws that include what we call the 100%. Everybody gets a chance. And since 1972, when we opened our doors, we've worked up there for 45 years and are got some notoriety around the Affordable Care Act because I wrote a letter that's called the Nuns letter that helped pass the ACA. Mm-hmm. And while we can disagree about what we should do now to improve the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, we know that 10 or 12 million people have access to health care now because they have coverage, which they didn't have before. So it was a big step forward, not perfect, needs fixing, but a step forward. And I was proud to be a part of it. And then in 2012, the illustrious experience of going on a bus and creating the campaign Nuns on a Bus.
Right.
That actually kind of catapulted us to the center of conversation in many quarters, and that was created because the Vatican was giving Catholic sisters a hard time at that time, and so we were just trying to use the notoriety for our mission, not about ourselves, but about the folks in our nation in need. And that really exploded. So that's how it's our most successful campaign ever, and we've now done 5 bus trips, and it's been a really challenging, wonderful experience to go around the country to meet so many amazing people in our country who are trying to work for the common good and to hear their worries and concerns. And so hopefully we'll get a chance to talk about some of them during this time together.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my next question. What would you say, Sister Simone Campbell, are key social justice issues, maybe not necessarily just this year, but in general? What are we facing right now in our country?
Well, the thing that we're really laser focused on here at Network is the fact that we have such huge income and wealth disparity in our nation. And this didn't used to be the case. Between 1949 and 1979, every category, 20% of the population, everyone's income went up about 100% in that 30-year period. Mm-hmm. But what we, in our study, discovered was between 1980 and 2014, that is no longer the truth. That's not true that if you work hard, play by the rules, you'll get ahead.
Right.
What's happened is the bottom 20% of our population, of households in our population, their income has actually gone down 9% in 34 years, while the top 20% income has gone up 60%. Now, your eyes can kind of glaze over at the numbers, but all you have to do is think. The bottom went down. They lost money. The top dramatically increased. But those in the middle barely moved because their income only went up 15% in 34 years. I mean, that's like hardly any change at all. So what we see in our society is that we're working to what we call mend the gaps. The income and wealth gap is a problem for all of us, those at the top and those at the bottom. Often folks don't realize that those at the top suffer the same problem. We just saw new data about infant mortality. Doesn't change that much by economic group. It's really kind of shocking.
That is interesting.
It's a little better towards the top range, but not that much. And so we all suffer when we've got this big economic gap. So we're working to mend the gaps. And we've got 7 policy areas that we're working on. But I think the real thing that tells us is that this is important is I was just in Cincinnati, and Mom who works at the at a training kitchen, helping people learn to become supervisors in kitchen settings, industrial kitchens and restaurants. And she was talking about how hard it is for her. She herself is probably lower middle class in that 20 to 40% range.
Right.
She has 2 disabled kids, 14 and 15 years old. She doesn't have a car because she can't afford it. She has to take a bus and get her son, who's got diabetes and what was the other thing that epilepsy.
Oh, wow.
And so he's got both diabetes and epilepsy, and she's got to get him to at least 10 doctor's appointments.
Wow.
A month on the bus.
Wow.
And I was stunned by that and how hard it is for our people. And here she is working hard, playing by the rules.
Right.
But it's not working for her. And so those are the heartbreaking stories I hear all over the nation where we say, we're better than this. We the people are better than this.
Yeah. So we hear these heartbreaking stories and we see these numbers, like you said, where our eyes kind of glaze over. And after a while, sometimes we just kind of throw up our hands as Americans and say, well, what really can we do? So one of your terms is, mending the gaps. Where do we start mending the gaps? Is that, with our legislators or how we vote or, it's kind of a tall order. How do we do that?
Well, exactly. That is the challenge. But, here's the good news.
Yeah.
I said between 49 and 79, everybody's income went up about 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Policy made that happen. Mm. Now, the good news underneath that is that the policy changes that we've made since then have undermined the shared prosperity. And so what we need to do is to make policy changes. So the first thing we have to do is believe it can happen. Because you're right. So many people just feel like, oh, my God, it's always been this way. It'll never change. No, that's not true.
Yeah.
We can make a change. We can make it different. And so the things that we're working on is a just tax policy. It was fairly shocking to me that one of our presidential candidates at a debate seemed to indicate that he didn't pay any taxes and was proud of it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's wrong. That's not how we should treat taxes in our nation. It's not about what you can get away with. It's about how do you invest in us and our future.
Right.
Because if you're not paying in, then you're not a part of we the people, in my view. So we're trying to change the way we think about taxes. I mean, I pay taxes.
Yeah.
I have my, deductions, and I'm actually kind of proud of it.
Yeah.
Because I see what it does. I see the transportation that it supports. I see the social safety net. I see the investment in education. Those things I'm proud to support. Now, do I have quibbles and quarrels with where some of my money goes? Oh, of course.
Yeah.
But it's worth it because it's how a society comes together and cares for the future. So it's those kinds of things we're working on.
So back in 2012, like you said, the Nuns on the Bus really took off and kind of exploded into a life of its own. Are the Nuns on a bus this particular year with this particular election cycle, or are you focusing on something else right now?
Well, we were on the bus this summer on our Mend the Gap tour.
Okay.
We started up in Wisconsin in Speaker Paul Ryan's district, because what most people don't know is Speaker Paul Ryan comes from a town where there are 2 representatives from the same town in Janesville, and the other representative is Congressman Mark Pocan, who is a member of the Democratic Progressive Caucus. So we have one of the most progressive congressmen and one of the most conservative. So we thought, hey, if we're going to mend the gaps, we should start there. How do they do it? And then we took the bus around and went to a variety of states, but we went to the Republican convention in Cleveland, and we went to the Democratic convention in Philadelphia and did what we called was lemonade ministry. We pulled around a red wagon that had big igloo of ice-cold lemonade and handed out containers, little cups of lemonade, and then engaged people in conversation about what worries them in this election cycle and what gives them hope for our nation, because we really believe that conversation is the key to moving forward. Too often we're so siloed and polarized. We never talk to people who think differently. I mean, one of the nice things about sports is that some people told me is that you can always talk sports. Though right now it's a little difficult with the Cubs and the Indians, but that's all right.
That is true. That is definitely true. I was just going to say, I mean, I'm sure, driving around in the bus and going to those conventions and meeting all these people, you probably heard so many stories along the way, right?
Oh, my glory, did we ever. I mean, I think one of the things that really surprised me in Cleveland at the Republican convention was how everybody had something that worried them in this election cycle.
Yep.
I mean, it was really quick. And a bunch of them said they worried that there wasn't a good choice for president.
Yeah.
And I said to this one guy, well, what are you going to do? That really sounds worrisome. And he says, I'm a lifelong Republican. I'll do what I must. And it felt like a soldier with bad orders, but he was going to do his duty. But the thing that really worried me was that at least a third of those at the Republican convention, when I asked, what's your hope for our nation? They would go, they didn't have hope.
Yeah.
And this one guy said to me, he responded finally after, he said, the Constitution? Like, as if there was a right answer, and did he get it right?
Right, yeah. Wow.
And what I've realized is that just the fear and the division that is currently rife in our society, really, as long as we're afraid, we can't have hope.
Yeah.
Hope is a communal virtue when we trust the community that we can make change happen. And right now, it's in short supply. So we're working hard to change that reality, that recovering we the people. It's all of us together. Regardless of what happens on November 8th, we've got to work together.
Absolutely.
Not tear each other apart.
Now, back in 2012, you pretty much came right out and endorsed President Obama. I remember you were one of his speakers at the Democratic National Convention, if I remember correctly.
That's true. That's true.
Have you officially endorsed a candidate this year? I mean, I think we can kind of understand, get an idea of where you're leaning with this election, but I haven't seen where Sister Simone Campbell endorses XYZ candidate. Have you done that this year? And if not, why not?
No, we haven't.
Okay.
Mostly because what we're keenly aware of is what matters to us are the policies,
right?
Not the candidates, and that we're asking the candidates to endorse our policies and to endorse us. And so we sent our policies to both campaigns and asked for their response. And we've got what we call side-by-sides. They're actually up on our website, which compares
I saw that, yes.
candidates on the 7 issues that we have, and then we ask them to endorse our program. And we never heard from the Trump campaign or the Republican Party. Well, we heard from the Republican Party saying that the Trump campaign would respond, but we didn't hear from them. And then on the Clinton side, on the Democratic side, we did get affirmation that Secretary Clinton supports our program, but has more details and didn't want to endorse it without more details. So I thought that was a good response. She definitely affirmed our family-friendly workplace, our living wage, and our just tax policy, as well as immigration and health care. The issue of fully funding the census, she wasn't as aware of, her campaign said, but thought it was a good idea.
This year is a very confusing election Kutztown University, we're a public university. We're not religiously affiliated at all. I personally am Catholic, but we're not. The university is not affiliated at all. But I will say that from my perspective, a lot of Christians, Catholics, people of faith are having a real difficult time this year because you have one candidate who says certain things that are kind of along the line of a good Christian or a good Catholic, but then contrary on the other side, and then vice versa. I know the infamous abortion issue always comes up, and that's kind of an onus over the Clinton campaigns. What should people of faith, or not even necessarily people of faith, but just people who are concerned about the future of our country, what should we do?
Oh, I know, and I've met so many folks that are just tearing their hair in this one. The thing is that I describe myself as pro-life, but what I have a much more how can I say it? My concern is that abortions not happen. And our political reality has been polarized around this issue, but what has made me mad is the political left and the political right use it for organizing. They don't really work to reduce abortions. They use it for their political purposes. So I say, let's us, I call ourselves the muddled middle, let's us come together and work to end abortion. And the fact is, during the last 7 years, during the Obama administration, abortion rates have dramatically decreased. And that decrease has occurred partially because of the Affordable Care Act, because mothers have access to prenatal care, partially because of improving economy and support. In the Affordable Care Act was the Pregnant Women's Support Act, which got money into the hands of low-income pregnant women so that they could carry their babies to term with some economic options. So we know what can make a difference. So that's how I see it, is that are we really working to promote life, or are we only working to promote the political extremes? And I know some people see abortion as the only issue. Some people see pro-choice as the only issue. Life is way more complicated than that. We have to be grown-ups in democracy. And being grown-ups means making some hard choices. Who is best for the common good? And the data says that if you care for the economic care for the whole nation, abortion rates go down. It's interesting to note that in France, there's much more liberal abortion laws, but a much lower abortion rate. Because do you know they've got a year's paid maternity leave for all women?
Yeah.
They have a child. They've got in-home supportive services. They have affordable child care. What radical thoughts?
Yeah, I know. I think in some parts of the world, even fathers can take time off.
Parental leave.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
parental leave. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow. So that's an excellent point. What are your feelings on again with this whole deciding Clinton versus Trump? What are your feelings on some of the third parties that have cropped up? I know I've read some some press on the American Solidarity Party and the Constitution Party. Do you think that that's a direction that people should look at, or is that kind of just blowing in the wind and not going anywhere? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, certainly this election, it's not. I don't think there's really a viable third-party candidate. And what we're going to do about that, I don't know. We've got to do something, because we need a vibrant Republican Party for those issues, the traditional Republican issues of business and the whole area of a economic focus from the top. We need active representation for that, but that's what we've lost, because that part of the Republican Party has been held hostage by an extreme. Now, they let themselves be held hostage by an extreme, and they don't know how to manage that extreme, the Tea Party reality.
Right.
So I don't know if that then means that a third party is going to be created after we get through this painful presidential process on November 9th. I don't know. We've got to do something, because stepping back from making hard decisions is ruining our nation. That is as much of a problem as anything else. The fact that Congress won't make decisions because the few in the House of Representatives hold them hostage.
Right.
We got to break out of that. That's not a democracy. Is about deciding.
Right.
Solving the problems of our time. So if we're going to maintain our democracy, we got work to do, so we can't avoid it.
So what happens on November 9th? Obviously, somebody's going to win, somebody's going to somebody's going to lose. Half the country's going to be happy, half the country's going to be upset. So, where do we go from after it's all done? What do we do next to start working together?
Well, unlike the World Series, you can't just say, "Oh, well, better luck next year."
Right.
This is the hard work of engagement, and I would urge any of your viewers to be a part of us here at Network at networklobby.org.
That was going to be my next question. Yep.
Yeah, because we are committed to the long haul of mending these gaps, and it requires all of us at the table having the conversation. Pope Francis, who I just really admire and love his perspective is that he says that if we're going to generate peace, if we're going to create peace, and let's face it, we need peace in our nation because there's been so much anger, so much hostility, that what we have to do four things. We have to dialogue. We have to hear the stories of real people, not have theories, but hear real people's stories. We have to want unity, and we have to talk to each other about wanting to come together. And the last thing is that he says the whole is greater than the part, but if you're missing a part in the conversation, you can't have peace because you don't have the whole. So that we've got to get everybody at the table. So I'm urging everybody to join us at Network, be a part of us. It doesn't cost anything to be an e-advocate, to get our stuff, but engage. Don't pretend this is a sporting event that we can just wait for next time. No. This is serious work. It's hard work of democracy. So we think we can mend the gaps if we engage. That's how we reweave the fabric of our society, is if we talk to each other. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, I remember a couple of years ago, I believe it was during Lent, you had like the 40 days of calling your local representatives to talk about issue. I think the issue that year was
immigration.
Immigration, yes.
Yes.
So yeah, a lot of times people think, oh, okay, another organization, they're going to be asking for my money and stuff, but you're not even asking for that. You're just asking people to be involved, right?
Right. Occasionally we'll ask for money because we
Sure.
do need to pay the bills.
Absolutely.
But the key thing that I really urge people to do is to get involved and use your voice someplace.
Right.
Because that's the only way we, the people, can do this. I realize that I used to think before I came to D.C. that the members of Congress and the administration, that they were our leaders. But what I've realized is, yeah, they're leaders in some fashion, but they're also very dependent on polls and how polling goes, how their constituents are, that in many ways they're followers. So I'm urging we, the people, to stand up and make a difference. We can change Congress if we have enough clout. So join us.
That's fantastic. Well, I want to be respectful of your time. I promised you about 20 minutes, Sister Simone Campbell. I want to thank you so much. I just give you one more minute to promote your website, Facebook page, anything you would like people to know.
Sure. Thanks for that.
Yes.
Join us at networklobby.org. Follow me on Twitter. I'm trying to collect more Twitter followers.
Okay,
so
good.
it's for sister, SR_Simone, SIMONE.
Okay.
And talk to your neighbors about what matters. Ask them what they're concerned about and what gives them hope for our nation right now. And I think you'll have some good conversations. So everybody can be involved.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Sister Simone Campbell. I know you're going to be busy over the coming week and the weeks to follow. So God bless you. And I hope to talk to you again sometime soon.
I'd look forward to it. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.